Have you ever felt it? That strange moment when someone says, "So, I heard about you," and suddenly your heartbeat changes because deep down, you know your name was spoken somewhere you were never supposed to hear about. Listen carefully, because this is not just another late night thought. The person you love recently talked to someone about you, not casually, not for attention. They talked about you because your presence has been living in their mind louder than they expected. And the scary part? The person listening immediately noticed something emotional was happening. Because when someone truly feels connected to you, they cannot hide it in their voice. Their energy changes, their eyes soften. They start describing little things that should not matter, but somehow matter deeply to them. The way you smile, the way you pull away when you are hurt, the way your silence says more than words ever could. And then the conversation shifted. The person listening finally interrupted them and said something that completely shook them emotionally, something they are still thinking about right now, because sometimes another person can see feelings we are too afraid to admit to ourselves. And tonight, you are about to understand exactly what they were told about you, why it hit them so deeply, and why this connection may be becoming impossible for them to ignore anymore. Stay with me until the end, because the final thing they heard about you changed everything inside them. There is a reason your name keeps slipping into their conversations even when they never planned to mention you. That is what happens when someone begins occupying emotional space in another person's mind. They may wake up telling themselves they will stay focused, stay logical, stay emotionally controlled, and then somehow, in the middle of an ordinary conversation, your name appears again. At first it sounded harmless, casual, almost accidental. Yeah, there's this person I've been talking to. But the more they spoke, the more obvious it became that you were not just someone to them. Because people do not describe ordinary connections with detail. They do not remember tiny things about people who mean nothing. Yet, when they talked about you, they remembered everything. The way you react when something hurts you emotionally. The way your energy changes when you feel safe. The confidence in your voice mixed with the softness you try to hide. Even the smallest things suddenly mattered to them more than they should. And the person listening noticed it immediately. They noticed how your person smiled without realizing it. They noticed how their entire tone softened every time they mentioned you. That is the thing about genuine emotional attraction. It leaks through behavior before someone is ready to admit it out loud. And then came the moment that changed the entire conversation. The person listening looked directly at them and said, "You talk about them differently." Silence, because suddenly your person realized they had exposed more emotion than they intended to. They tried brushing it off, laughing it away, acting casual, but deep down, those words landed hard. Because sometimes it takes another human being to reveal feelings we are trying to hide from ourselves. And after that sentence, they could not stop thinking about the way they speak about you. They started replaying conversations in their mind, wondering why your name feels so natural on their lips, wondering why talking about you feels comforting, exciting, and terrifying at the same time. Because this is no longer simple attraction. Attraction fades quickly. Attraction is surface level. But emotional fascination? That is different. Emotional fascination makes someone bring you up without realizing it. It makes them compare every interaction to the feeling they get with you, and now they are beginning to understand something they were not emotionally prepared for. You have slowly become part of their inner world. The scary part is, they did not notice when it started happening. Somewhere between the late night thoughts, the emotional tension, the curiosity, and the comfort they feel around you, your presence became emotionally addictive to them. And now the people around them can see it too. That is what shook them the most. Not just that they feel something for you, but that their feelings have become visible. Because once other people can see your emotional attachment, it becomes much harder to keep pretending the connection is not that serious. And tonight, whether they admit it openly yet or not, one truth keeps following them everywhere. You are becoming impossible for them to ignore. what affected them most was not just talking about you, it was hearing someone else recognize your value without ever meeting you. Think about how powerful that is for a moment. The person you love was describing you, and what they believed was just a normal conversation. Maybe they mentioned your personality. Maybe they talked about the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you make them feel understood without even trying too hard. But as they kept speaking, the person listening slowly realized something deeper was happening here. This was not surface attraction. This was emotional admiration. And then came the sentence that stayed trapped in their mind long after the conversation ended. You know, people like that are rare, right? The moment they heard those words, something shifted inside them emotionally. Because suddenly they stopped seeing you through casual eyes. Suddenly they started seeing you as someone valuable, someone difficult to replace, someone who enters a person's life and changes the emotional atmosphere completely. And the truth is, most people do not experience connections like this often. In today's world, people meet constantly. Conversations are endless. Attention is everywhere. But genuine emotional connection, that is rare. Feeling emotionally safe with someone is rare. Feeling deeply understood is rare. Feeling both peace and excitement around the same person is rare. And now your person is realizing you brought all of that into their life naturally, without forcing it, without pretending, without chasing. The more they replayed the conversation in their mind, the more they started remembering everything about you differently. They remembered your confidence, your emotional depth, the quiet mystery in your energy, the moments where you pulled away slightly because you were protecting your heart, the moments where your softness appeared unexpectedly and caught them off guard, and suddenly they realized something terrifying. If they lost you, replacing your energy would not be easy, because your value is not just physical attraction. Your value is emotional presence. You make them feel something real. And once someone experiences real emotional chemistry, ordinary connections start feeling empty. That is why this conversation affected them so deeply. Another person saw your worth immediately through the way you were described. That means your energy is powerful enough to leave an emotional impression without even being physically present. And now your person cannot stop thinking about it. They are beginning to understand why your absence affects them, why your silence feels heavy sometimes, why your attention feels addictive, why one message from you can completely shift their mood. Because emotionally, you became significant to them long before they admitted it out loud, and now fear is quietly entering their heart too. Fear of mishandling this connection, fear of pushing you away, fear that someone else may eventually recognize your value the same way they finally are. Because once someone understands how rare you truly are emotionally, they stop taking your presence lightly. And maybe that is exactly what is happening now. They are no longer seeing you as temporary. They are starting to realize you are the kind of person who leaves emotional fingerprints on someone's life long after the moment passes. The moment that truly exposed their feelings was not when they talked about your beauty, your appearance, or even your personality. It was when they accidentally revealed how deeply you affect them emotionally. Because there is a huge difference between liking someone and being emotionally moved by them. A person can find many people attractive. They can enjoy conversations with many people. But very few people have the power to completely shift someone's emotional state with just their presence, their voice, or even a simple message appearing on the screen. And during this conversation, that truth quietly revealed itself. At first, they were trying to sound calm, controlled, detached. They spoke about you casually, almost as if this connection was no big deal. But the longer they talked, the harder it became to hide what was really happening inside them. Because every sentence carried emotion underneath it. Every little story about you had emotional weight attached to it. They talked about how you stay in their mind even during busy days, how certain songs suddenly remind them of you, how they randomly think about conversations you had together hours later, and the person listening picked up on it immediately. They noticed that your person was not simply interested in you, they were emotionally affected by you. That is when the conversation shifted completely. The person listening looked at them carefully and said, I've never seen you talk about someone like this before. And for a second, everything became quiet. Because deep down, they knew it was true. You affect them differently than anyone else. You entered their emotional world in a way they did not expect, and now they cannot fully disconnect from it. That realization scared them more than they wanted to admit. Because emotional significance is dangerous. When someone starts mattering deeply, vulnerability enters the picture. Suddenly, your mood can influence theirs. Your distance can create anxiety inside them. Your attention can calm them in ways they do not understand. And the more they thought about it after that conversation, the more they realized your impact on them is becoming impossible to ignore. They started remembering moments they once dismissed as nothing. The way their heart reacted when you pulled away emotionally, the way they kept checking for your messages without realizing it, the way your approval somehow started mattering more than other people's opinions. Those are not small signs. Those are emotional attachment patterns. And maybe the most intense part of all this is that your connection with them does not feel loud or chaotic. It feels magnetic, quiet, deep. The kind of connection that slowly takes over someone's thoughts until they suddenly realize you have become part of their emotional routine. They look for you without meaning to, think about you without trying to miss you before you are even gone. And now your person is beginning to understand something that completely unsettles them. You are no longer just someone they talk to. You are becoming someone they emotionally need, not in a weak way, not in a desperate way, but in the kind of way where life genuinely feels different when your energy is present versus when it is absent. And once someone realizes that, there is no easy way to return to emotional distance anymore. What truly stayed with them after that conversation was not just the compliments about you, it was the warning. Because sometimes the people outside a connection can see its value more clearly than the people inside it. Your person was sitting there talking about you, describing your energy, your personality, the way this connection feels different from anything they expected. And the person listening suddenly became serious. The mood shifted. And then they said something simple but powerful. Don't lose someone like that. Those words hit harder than your person expected, because for the first time, someone else made them confront the possibility of losing you. Until that moment, maybe they thought there would always be more time, more chances, more opportunities to figure things out emotionally. But hearing another person recognize your value forced them to realize something uncomfortable. Meaningful people do not appear often in life. Real emotional connections are rare. And the biggest mistake people make is assuming rare things will always stay available no matter how carelessly they are handled. After hearing those words, your person became quiet internally. They started replaying moments with you differently. The times you opened up emotionally, the times you stayed patient with them even when they were emotionally confusing, the times you gave your energy, your softness, your attention without demanding anything in return. Suddenly those moments felt heavier, more valuable, because now they are beginning to understand that what you gave them emotionally is not something everyone can offer. There are many people who can create attraction, but very few people create emotional peace. Very few people make someone feel deeply understood while also making them feel desired, and that combination is unforgettable. The person they spoke to could hear it clearly in the way they described you. They could tell you were not just another temporary distraction. You became emotionally important. And once that truth settled in, fear quietly entered your person's heart. Fear of messing this up. Fear of waiting too long to express how they feel. Fear that one day you may emotionally detach and stop offering the warmth, attention, and emotional depth they secretly became attached to. Because now they are realizing something dangerous they may have started depending on your presence emotionally more than they intended to. That is why the warning affected them so deeply. Don't lose someone like that. Sounds simple, but emotionally it means people like this do not come twice. Connections like this do not happen every day, and deep down your person knows it. They know your energy shifted something inside them. They know your absence would leave a silence difficult to replace. And maybe that is why they are beginning to look at this connection more seriously now. They are starting to understand that love is not always loud in the beginning. Sometimes it grows quietly through emotional safety, consistency, fascination, tension, comfort, and longing all mixing together over time. And now another person has confirmed what they were secretly afraid to admit to themselves. Losing you would hurt more than they expected, because your value was never just in your appearance or attention. Your real value is in the way you make someone feel emotionally alive when they are around you. And once someone experiences that kind of connection, they never look at you casually again. After that conversation ended, something inside them changed quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply, because once another person confirmed what they were feeling about you, it became impossible for them to keep pretending this connection was casual. They walked away thinking about you differently, more intensely, more emotionally, and now, without even realizing it fully yet, they are starting to crave something beyond attention from you. They want closeness, real closeness, the kind that goes deeper than flirting, deeper than attraction, deeper than temporary excitement. Because attention is easy to get in today's world. But emotional intimacy? That is rare. Emotional intimacy is when someone becomes part of your daily thoughts naturally. It is when hearing their voice calms your stress. It is when their energy changes the emotional atmosphere around you without effort. And that is exactly what is beginning to happen to them with you. They are starting to notice how different life feels when you are emotionally present versus when you pull away slightly. Your messages affect their mood more than they admit. Your silence stays in their mind longer than they expected. Even small moments with you suddenly feel emotionally important, and that realization is becoming impossible for them to ignore now. Because after hearing someone else reflect their feelings back to them, they finally started understanding the depth of this connection. They realized they do not just enjoy talking to you, they enjoy feeling connected to you. There is a huge difference. One is entertainment, the other becomes emotional attachment. And maybe the most beautiful part of this entire situation is that your person is beginning to desire your emotional world, not just your attention. They want to understand what you feel. They want to know what hurts you, what excites you, what makes you emotionally shut down, what makes you feel safe enough to open up completely. That kind of curiosity only happens when someone genuinely cares, because when feelings become real, a person stops chasing surface level moments and starts craving emotional depth instead. And now they are imagining you differently in their future. They are imagining late night conversations that last for hours. Quiet moments together where words are barely needed. They are imagining what it would feel like to have your support during difficult days and your warmth during lonely moments. And even though they may still act calm on the outside, emotionally they are moving closer to you every single day. Little by little, your energy is becoming part of their emotional comfort zone. That is why this connection feels so powerful. It is not built only on attraction. It is built on emotional pull. The kind that keeps someone thinking about you when the world becomes quiet, the kind that makes them reread old messages, replay your voice in their mind, and wonder whether you realize how deeply you are affecting them. Because the truth is, some people enter our lives for a moment and disappear like memories, but others leave emotional fingerprints behind. They change the emotional rhythm of our life completely. And whether your person says it openly yet or not, they are beginning to realize that you may have become one of those unforgettable people for them. Someone whose energy they no longer want to lose. Someone they secretly want closer than ever before. So tonight, if your heart has been quietly asking whether this connection is real, whether this person truly feels your absence, your energy, your presence the same way you feel theirs, take this as your reminder that emotions always reveal themselves eventually, no matter how carefully someone hides them. Because people do not repeatedly talk about someone who means nothing to them. They do not carry someone in their thoughts this deeply unless that person has touched something emotional inside them that they cannot explain logically. And maybe that is exactly what is happening here. Maybe the person you love is finally realizing that your connection is no longer something they can casually walk away from. Your energy stayed with them. Your voice stayed with them. The feeling they get around you stayed with them. And now even the people around them can see it clearly. That is powerful. Because when emotions become visible to others, the truth becomes much harder to deny. So do not underestimate your impact. Sometimes the most unforgettable women are not the loudest ones. They are the ones who make someone feel understood, desired, emotionally safe, and deeply connected all at once. And that kind of connection leaves marks on the heart that time cannot easily erase. If this message resonated with you, then maybe it reached you for a reason. Maybe your intuition already knew something was shifting emotionally behind the scenes. And if you felt every word of this deeply, stay close, because the next message may reveal the one feeling your person still has not found the courage to say out loud yet.